All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Rocket Chiro Podcast, the business and marketing podcast for chiropractors. We're going to talk about Google Ads and search engine optimization today, or at least I'm going to attempt to. I have tried to record this podcast a few times and it has not gone well. And this is going to be my last attempt for today. So, not that anybody cares, but so let's talk about this. I want to answer the question, if you're a chiropractor, should I spend money on Google Ads or SEO? And this is going to be similar to what we've talked about before, which is there isn't one answer for everyone. And so my goal is to help you just understand the pros and cons and understand like what situation you might want to consider based on different factors. So I'm going to try to help you make a better decision. Exercise your decision-making muscle a little bit, that leadership muscle. We're going to work on that a little bit. And hopefully the end result is you can make the best decision for your practice. So that's going to be my goal for today. Before I get too far into that, I do want to say, if you want a better chiropractic website, reach out to me through Rocket Chiro. I'll be happy to talk to you about that. If you want some help with Google Ads and SEO, like all this stuff we're talking about today, I could help you with. That's not the point of this podcast. But if you want someone to help you with it and you listen to the podcast, I'd love to talk to you about it and see if there's something I can do to help you. If you are feeling stuck or you are brand new and you need some help getting started and you want to go beyond the podcast, you want some more in-depth trainings, you want access to me and some help along the way, check out my Next Step program. It is a really, really great option for chiropractors who are getting started or chiropractors who are feeling a little stuck. All right. So, should you spend money on SEO and Google Ads? I think the short answer is yes. But how you should is not as straightforward of an answer. And maybe even the short answer is yes, if you want new patients and you don't have them coming in from different places. And let me just kind of clarify. Google Ads and SEO is all about it's all about search. Like people in your area are searching and they're looking for a chiropractor, looking for back pain relief, neck pain relief. They're looking for, ultrasound or whatever, acupuncture, whatever the services that you offer in your practice. Those are people that you're attempting to advertise to or get in front of them and so that they know you're an option. This is true for ads because most chiropractors doing search ads. There's other ways of doing ads, and I don't even have to go down that rabbit trail, but there's other ways of doing ads. But most of the time we're doing search ads, and SEO is just search. It's search engine optimization. When someone's searching chiropractor near me, you want to show up really well so that they know you're an option. And so, should you do it? Yeah, it makes a ton of sense if you want new patients. Now, the exception to that might be you might want new patients, but you have really good social media following. And in that case, maybe it makes more sense for you to spend your money and your time on social media. Maybe that's the direction you want to go with your practice, where you're a social media guy or a social media gal, and you're just really good at it, or you think you're going to be good at it, or you think that's where your opportunity's at. Maybe that's where the direction that you would want to go. So there are some reasons why you might not do these things, but Google Ads and SEO, that's where the people are. And these people are actively looking for a chiropractor. It's a really nice demographic of people to get in front of, which is why chiropractors consider doing these things. Now, there's headaches along with these things, meaning that SEO can be a massive time sucker if you're trying to do it yourself and you don't know what you're doing. And SEO can be a humongous money pit if you're paying someone to do it for you and they're not doing a good job, or they're doing something different than what you think they're doing. Google Ads, it's sort of a time sucker if you're trying to figure out how to do it and you don't know what you're doing, but it's much more likely to be a money pit where you're just dumping money and dumping money and dumping money into it, and you're not getting very good results because you just don't understand not only ads, but you don't understand the website stuff and the landing page and just the whole process that's involved with it. So there are some cautionary tales to be told here. That are these good options for getting new patients? Yes. Are they potentially time suckers and money pits? Yeah, also that. So it's definitely something to be aware of. It's not just a blanket statement. Yes, everyone should do it. No brainer. End of podcast. All right. So let's talk about 3 things to consider. When you're making a decision on how you should do this or how you should go about doing ads, you want to take into consideration your time frame, you want to take into consideration your budget, and you want to take into consideration your competition. And we'll talk about these three things, and hopefully this results in, like I said, you making the best decision for your practice. As far as time frame goes, generally speaking, SEO takes longer than Google Ads. There are some exceptions to that. I recently had a client that had a huge jump in his SEO within a matter of it was only a couple days. I did a before and after scan that I posted on social media, and the two that I showed, the before and after, they were 10 days apart. But I actually have one of his it wasn't quite as good of a scan, but it was a massive change in his SEO rankings. And it was like 48 hours after I started working on his stuff. It was super fast. That's not normal. And I would not tell anyone to expect that. I have another one I posted recently where it's a chiropractor that we saw results after a couple months. That's more normal. And so if you're in a situation where it's like, man, I really need some patience this month, SEO is going to be, as a general rule, a more long-term time frame than Google Ads. Now, obviously, if you stink at Google Ads and you stink at SEO, they're both long-term. Like, it takes a long time to get good results if you're bad at both of them. But assuming that you're competent at either one of them, or whoever you're paying to do it is competent at it, usually you'll start seeing results quicker with ads than you will with SEO. So shorter time frame, Google Ads; longer time frame, SEO, barring a few exceptions. So what is your budget? If you have a low budget or no budget, that's not a great situation no matter what. But if you have a low budget or no budget, usually your starting point is going to be SEO. And that's just because you could do some of this stuff yourself. It's possible to do SEO and not have to spend a lot of money. It just requires some time, and it does require some knowledge. You have to actually know what you're doing. And so if money is just the hang up, then focus on SEO. If you have a little bit of money to spend, now you have to decide between, well, do I pay someone to do local SEO, which is going to be, $400 or $500 a month, probably for a chiropractor, or do I take that $400 or $500 a month and try my hand at doing my own Google Ads? Now, $400 or $500, if that's the whole budget you have, you're not quite in the realm of being able to pay someone to do your Google Ads for you. So it starts off with do everything yourself, DIY. If you have a little bit more money, maybe have some local SEO help. If you have a little bit more money than that, you can now look into, or do your own ads. And then if you have a little bit more budget than that, you can consider having someone do your ads for you. And if you have a good budget, I would just tell you to do both, because there's some really awesome benefits to doing both because of the limitations. Local SEO, you can't dictate where you show up with local SEO. You're going to see that you have like hot spots where it's like, man, I showed up really well here, but maybe not so well to the northeast of my practice. Or I showed up really, really well to the west of my practice, west that way. I don't know, west of my practice, but not so much to the south. There's a lot of that with local SEO within like the Google Maps, because it depends on where someone's at that's doing the searching and where you show up. When it comes to ads, you could pay to show up well over there in the town that you don't show up well at all. So if you're doing SEO to get as much organic kind of natural exposure within the maps you possibly can, and then you're paying for ads in an area where you're not doing as well, that's a really, really great combination, but you kind of have to have the budget to do it. And at that point, you're talking about a couple $1,000. So it's obviously not cheap. That's going to be the higher end of the budget. A lot of chiropractors don't have that. So let's talk about your competition. So here's the stinker thing about competition. And when I do practice assessments for chiropractors, and if you haven't ever done a practice assessment from me, if you want me to look at your website and SEO, I'd be happy to look at it, send you a video, give you some recommendations. There's no obligation, no pressure, no sales pitch, just good information. And when I do that, one of the things I say all the time is that one of the things that affects search engine optimization that you can't do anything about is the number of chiropractors in your area. And this is also true for Google Ads, because low or bad competition makes everything cheaper. Low or bad competition makes everything easier. And low and bad competition makes SEO changes faster. Now, the chiropractor that I referenced before that had the really quick SEO changes, one of the reasons I thought that he might is because I looked at his competition and I thought, it's not super crammed with chiropractors. I mean, it's not like he was the only one in the area. There was like 30 some chiropractors that showed up in his scan that we did. But the thing that jumped out to me was like, this is not a high competition area. It's not like Dallas or Atlanta or something like that. This is an area where nobody's really pushing. So it was on the lower side of competition, and it wasn't real strong competition. So I told him, I said, I think with your budget, we can make this work and we'll get some changes relatively quickly. And I was right. And so the competition, and here's the thing, you can't do anything about that. If you're in an area where there's tons of chiropractors, and if some of those chiropractors they've been paying for SEO, they've been getting reviews, like they've been pushing for a long time, it's harder to get those changes quicker. And it's also true for ads. If there's a bunch of people in your area that are running ads, your ads are going to be more expensive. There's nothing you could do about it. You could literally be, 30 minutes away from your chiropractor friend he's paying, 75 cents a click, and he's getting, whatever, like a really great result from his Google ads. And you're 30 minutes away paying $10 a click because there's such high competition in your area for the ads. So that's the other thing that you have to, now you may not know that. You may not know that as far as like who's running ads and who's not or whatever, but you could do a basic search for chiropractor in your town, chiropractor near me. See how many ads come up. See if ads come up at all. See if they're close to you. I'm not suggesting you click on everybody's ads or anything like that, but just you could look and get a feel for it. That doesn't tell you everything because people could be running ads at certain times and not other times. It doesn't tell you their bidding strategies. There's all kinds of things information you don't get from doing that. But if you're in an area where there's like people are really taking SEO seriously and they're running ads, it's going to run your budget up and it's going to make all of this harder. And it might be a situation where if you're really, really strapped for cash, you can't make this stuff work on the low end because of the fact that your competition is so stiff. And so some of the stuff I said before where I talked about like money is if somebody come to me and they said, I'm going to pay for local SEO, and I looked at their stuff and it was high competition. There's a lot of chiropractors. I would just have a very honest conversation and say, listen, this is probably going to take a while. I mean, this might take 5 to 6 months before we really start seeing good changes. And we might get to a point where we really stall out and not be able to climb up any higher for a while because of the competition is here. And same thing with like ads. If I have somebody that's got a low budget and we're running ads, and if I start seeing that, man, we're not getting exposure, we're not getting clicks at a reasonable amount, we're not like, this just isn't working, I'd have to go back to that client and say, either we got to bump the budget up or this isn't a good thing for you to do right now. Like maybe that money that you have is better spent on something else. Now, I help my clients make those decisions, but if you're in a situation where you haven't hired anybody yet, or even if you're in a situation where you're working with somebody else, they may not be so willing to have that conversation with you. And you have to have the wisdom and the discernment to look at your situation and say, maybe I need to tweak something. Maybe I need to take on some of this myself. Maybe I need to get somebody else to help me, or maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe I need to spend my time and energy on something that's going to be a little bit more reachable, a little bit better return on investment at this moment in time. And then maybe you could circle back around to it later when your situation changes. I've said this over and over again, and I will say it again here. I am so against unnecessary risk as a chiropractor, especially when you're first getting started. Putting yourself in a bad situation financially on a gamble is not wise. And so taking into consideration time frame, budget, and your competition and how difficult it's going to be to make progress within your area will help you make the decision of, is it the right time to spend money on Google Ads or SEO, and which one of those should I do? Now, in terms of what is low, what is moderate, what is high, I asked ChatGPT. So take this for whatever it is worth. Is ChatGPT said that a low density of chiropractors is 5 chiropractors per 100,000 people, approximately. A moderate density of chiropractors would be 5 to 10 chiropractors per 100,000 people. And then a high density of chiropractors would be more than 10 chiropractors per 100,000 people. I don't know how accurate that information is, because I did this, I did a check. And here's the problem. Here's the problem with this is, how are we defining within a particular area? Are we talking about exclusively a town? You know, like if we say we're gonna do this math in St. Louis, are we only checking chiropractors that have a St. Louis address? And then are we only considering people who have, what's the population within the St. Louis city limits? Would that be how we figure out that number? Would it be that I'm on the edge of a town and there's, you know, if I do these scans and I see, you know, 40 chiropractors on it versus 300 chiropractors, then, you know, I can tell within this particular region, there's a lot of chiropractors, there's not a lot of chiropractors. But if you're trying to figure this out yourself, figuring out the exact calculations, I don't know. I don't know how easy it is to actually figure out this information. But as a general rule, this is what ChatGPT says: 5 chiropractors per 100,000, low; 5 to 10, moderate; 10 plus, high. I still think it has a lot to do with strength of competition, more so than less chiropractors. Now, obviously, if there's less chiropractors, it's easier. But if you have a bunch of chiropractors in your area and nobody's running ads and nobody's doing SEO very well, you know, and I would say low competition is, from an SEO standpoint, if we just use Google, business profile and reviews as a metric, if you just looked at it and said, well, none of these chiropractors in my area have over 100 reviews, well, then I wouldn't be too worried about it. I think you could probably make good progress. Now, if you see chiropractor that has 150, 250, 350 reviews, that's a pretty good indication that there's some strength there to their MAPS rankings. They're probably ranking well. It's not the only factor that affects rank, but it's, if you just want a quick and dirty idea of how stiff is the SEO competition in the Google Maps in my area, look at the number of views. That'll kind of give you an idea. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank God that we got through this podcast and it is done, because I had so much trouble getting into it. If you want some help with your website, SEO, Google Ads, reach out to me at Rocket Chiro. If you want some help getting started, then check out my Next Step program. If you know a chiropractor who would benefit from the podcast, please share it. That would be super helpful. I would really, really appreciate that. And I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. See ya.